All right, ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to another great episode on your favorite political talk show, The Truth with Ben Jokes. Now, when the Tinubu administration was considering floating the Naira, experts asked him a lot of questions. Number one, they said, what is the nation exporting apart from crude oil that can guarantee inflow of FX? There was no answer. They said, how stable is the power supply of Nigeria? There was no answer. They said, have you upped your game in terms of production? There was no answer. All the boxes that needed to be ticked before you float a currency were not ticked. But the administration went ahead and floated the Naira. And since they did, the Naira began crashing heavily against the dollar and other currencies. And not for once have these guys come out to say we shouldn't have floated this Naira. All they have done is to blame other people. They started by blaming it on Nigerian students schooling abroad. They came down to putting the blame on Nigerian women who import Brazilian and human hair into this country. And then they went ahead to blame cryptocurrencies. And recently, 2 executives of Binance were deceived into Nigeria and they were detained. Then Bayo Ononuga went on BBC and granted an interview telling lies. Binance have now come out to expose the Nigerian government, to shame the government as a government of propaganda. Before I show you what Binance said and how Nigerians reacted, let me quickly show you this update. Yesterday in Lagos, Tinubu mocked Nigerian workers and the NLC that instead of protesting, they should wait till 2027 and meet him at the polls if they want to take over power. And after that statement, he received the harshest threat to his presidency so far. Look at how the papers reported it. There may not be 2027 for Nigeria if you don't fix increasing hardship. Civil society group warned Tinubu. The United Action Front of the Civil Society, a coalition of citizens groups and eminent civil society leaders, has condemned the statement made by Tinubu that if the organized labor is interested in the electoral process, they should meet him in 2027. Tinubu had on Thursday, during the commissioning of the Lagos Red Line train connecting from Agbado to Oyigbo, condemned the protest, noting that the labor movement was not the only voice of the people. However, the leaders of organized civil society on Thursday, in a statement signed by his spokesman, Malam Hamisu Santuraki, tasked Tinubu to fix the urgency foisted on the country by the unbearable hunger and hardship being experienced by Nigerians, or perish the thoughts that there will be 2027 for him to engage Nigerians or seek their votes again. Accordingly, the United Action Front of Civil Society carpets the jab by Tinubu today in Lagos while commissioning the Red Line that if Labour is interested in the electoral process, they should meet him in 2027, and that Labour is not the only voice of the people. The group said the statement by Tinubu was not only delusional but malicious against pro-people labor movement operating in open society of Nigeria. Our well-considered position on this matter is that the way things are today in the country, if nothing drastic is done to stem the tide, the masses of Nigerian people will have no choice but be forced to storm and occupy the ASO Rock Villa and all other government houses in Nigeria within the next few weeks, especially if the hunger and hardship in the country is allowed to persist and fester to the extent that there may not be that 2027 which Tinubu and his co-travelers serve us so much and hope for. Therefore, we wish to advise the Tinubu government that rather than chastise Labour for providing an organized and peaceful voice to the pervasive anger and disenchantment in the land, they should have been commended and encouraged, because alternative voices, if allowed vent, could be more ruthless and disruptive, just as history has proven to mankind that those who make peaceful change impossible in history make violent change inevitable. To this end, as responsible leaders of the organized civil society of Nigeria who participated fully in the national mass protest championed by Labour, we wish to caution Tinubu strongly not to see organized bodies of the Open Society of Nigeria, like the NLC, as enemies of government or politically motivated to challenge the negative economic policies of his administration, but as sincere partners in progress, different from sycophants and jobbers around corridors of power, the statement added. Now, I was not only interested in the toughness of this response, but in the fact that they said if the situation does not get better, they would occupy ASO Rock and all the government houses in massive protest. I think any protest short of that does not make sense. That is what everybody should be thinking of now. No more, no less. Now, let us look at the cryptocurrency platform, Binance, versus the Nigerian government. And once again, this administration has been exposed as an administration of lies and propaganda. In an attempt to put the failure of this administration on that cryptocurrency platform, Bayo Ononuga went to BBC, granted an interview, lying that the platform was responsible for the fall of the Naira, that they had in fact fined the platform $10 billion and there was an agreement. But Binance have now come out to say, you guys are liars. There was nothing like that. Look at how the papers reported it. Nigerian government lied. No discussion about $10 billion fines. We won't pay ransom or damages if asked. Binance. Binance Holdings Limited said on Friday that it was not in any talks with the Nigerian government about potentially paying up to $10 billion in fines, contradicting a government spokesman's statement to the BBC hours earlier. We recently discussed ways to resolve issues with Nigeria, but we did not hear any demand for $10 billion, a Binance official told People's Gazette shortly after the BBC said Bayo Ononuga purportedly announced the enormous penalties. The Cayman Islands-based cryptocurrency giant said it was not in the mood to discuss paying the Nigerian government either to restore its services that were cut off recently or free its executives being held over alleged involvement in purported manipulation that led to the rapid collapse of the Naira and associated consequences for historic inflation and poverty in Nigeria. Our aim is to chart good relationship with the government and the people of Nigeria. We want to see our services restored in Nigeria very soon, but we have no intention of paying fines for personnel or services, Binance added. Asked for comments about Binance's position, Mr. Ononuga said his statement to the BBC was misrepresented in the media, noting that he never said the company had been informed or that the fine had been concluded by Nigerian regulators. I said our government may impose heavy fines on Binance for what happened, Mr. Ononuga told the Gazette. I never said Binance had been informed about the fines or that it would definitely be $10 billion. I only said the amount may be imposed, which is because nothing has been finalized yet, Mr. Ononuga said, placing repeated emphasis on the uncertainties around the fines. But when you were granting the interview, you were running your mouth. You didn't place uncertainties. Now you are saying that BBC misrepresented what you said. Why does the APC resort to blaming what kind of organization is this? And look at how Nigerians reacted. Look at some of the tweet reactions. This tweet here says, Tinubu wants to finish us with propaganda. My brother, we are so tired. And this tweet here says, Binance exposed the Nigerian government for what it is. That is it, a government of propaganda. And this tweet here says, is Binance responsible for the Naira erroneous crash? No. Is Binance responsible for the crash of Nigeria's economy? No. Is Binance responsible for all the misfortunes happening in Nigeria? No. Binance ain't responsible for any problem Nigeria is facing. APC is. Binance should not pay these looters in chief a dime. They owe Nigeria and their corrupt politicians nothing. That is the absolute truth. And this tweet here says, I thought Bosun, that is the Minister of Communications, would advise this APC government. No government in the world can fight crypto because it is like Hydra with 10 heads. When you cut one, another props up. Rather than fighting crypto, why not embrace it and use it to fight corruption? They tell you say they won't fight corruption. These people are corruption themselves, corruption personified. They have no intention of fighting it. This is what happens when you put old and archaic heads in power. They don't know how to change with the changing times. And this tweet here says, this government keeps on disgracing us, old men that ought to retire. Oh, what a shame. So, there you have it. Nigerian government blaming the cryptocurrency platform Binance for the poverty in this country. This is beyond my imagination. I never thought that a day like this would come. But if you didn't know that this government was clueless, now you do. And if you thought they had anything to offer to change the present situation, I think this should tell you that these guys don't have anything to offer. This blame game from pillar to post only shows confusion, and it shows that Nigeria is doomed, except the people wake up and do the needful. But until then, make I still enter town. Make I go get some ogbonge political news wey una go like. Why? Because of una na I dey here. So don't go away. Don't